like it's fake.
No, they do regular cup Powerade after 9 o'clock, you're fucked.
Nah, Jerry, no, I don't touch the sides.
Here's one for you, man.
Go on then.
Blue or red Powerade?
Blue in fairness.
Blue all day. I don't
Yeah.
know why, they all taste the same, really. But slightly better is blue.
Blues, yeah.
Like if you were blindfolded, do you reckon you'd taste the difference?
Yeah,
Do you reckon
definitely.
you'd taste the rainbow? I don't know.
Definitely.
What's blue? Mountain Blast? And it's fixing juice in it. Yeah.
It is Mountain Blast. Fair play.
If you were on, anybody knows if you're on holidays in Europe, Powerade sorts you straight out. A blue Powerade.
Fanta Lemon for me
Fanta
in
Lemon.
Europe. Fanta Limon.
Pepsi Lemon was the one when we went on our water sports trips. Remember the old Pepsi Lemon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fucking bollocks. I had about fucking 6 cans of them. Teacher fucking had to call my mother, said book him in for diabetes test when he's back. Turned out I was alright.
I tell you what's fucking class out of your mind is the Gatorade selection.
It is, yeah.
For me, again, controversial, and I'm sure Adam Court won't agree, but the red Gatorade, the tropical one, is better than blue Powerade. Don't care what anyone says.
Big shout that.
That's just not correct, is it?
Gatorade.
Following on from last week's GYG or Zambrero, mind, I've had a Zambrero and GYG since I've been in the last week. I'm gonna have to double down. GYG does take it.
Different gravy.
Good on tonight, was it?
Mind, you were struggling tonight, weren't you? A bit
so-
too spicy.
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a sucker for punishment when it comes to spice. I love it, I just can't take it. And I had the old habanero salsa, and fuck me, it just hangs. It just hangs and hangs and hangs.
Why do you continuously keep having it?
Because it's my only pain pleasure thing, where like the more pain, the more I enjoy. I like every mouthful, like not knowing it's going to be my last.
Alright, fair enough.
Sound. Fair enough. That's some deep trauma you got to work through there, but that's alright. Hopefully we can help you in part 2 of the Man Problem special. A couple of pointers before we get into it. So, in the episode before last, we kind of did a cutaway to Sauce's soundbite, but we didn't have a soundbite for Sauce because he was on the piss in Sydney, and we also forgot to ask him for one. By the time we realised we'd got to ask him for a soundbite, it was like, right, he's, 3 hours in front in Sydney?
Yes,
You'd have been full send, so we wouldn't have had any kind of material we could use, I don't reckon.
I probably should ask this when we're not recording, just because curiosity's killing the cat. I mean, by the time they find out, it's going to be fucking 2 weeks later. No one's going to fucking remember.
Very true. Just like no one remembers the don't believe everything you hear on the podcast. I can't even remember it myself.
No one ever asks either.
No, because I heard you say we'll have to get Sauce's thing, and I was like, no, I already told you Michael Jackson didn't have a 6th brother.
True. Well, octopuses do have 3 hearts, but that's probably the last time I'm going to do one of them, because...
That was it, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you know, I knew that when I was watching it on the plane. I was like, they fucking do. And if I was there, they got the answer right. But
As many
what
as
can you
3.
Well, I never knew that.
do?
Greedy fuckers.
We missed a Welsh word as well. The word we use for shoes is daps. That's a classic, and I don't know if we've got that one.
Who's daps these?
Die dapped.
Dap. And also we had one of the wildest habits I've ever heard off one of our good mates, Jack Gruby. He said he had a mate. Listen to this, boys. He had a mate who had a wall in his bedroom that he used to call the bugger wall.
Oh, no.
And he'd just have like this one section where he'd just pick his nose and wipe his buggies on it.
Ah, come on now, innit? That's disgusting.
The parents not coming in the bedroom at any point and going, look, bud, what's happening with that over there?
I'm assuming he lived on his own at this point, or in a like a student house. Or
Oh, he wasn't when he was a kid?
No,
Well, now.
he's an adult. Yeah, he's got a bugger wall.
Yeah, that's quite offside, that is. That is very, very, very offside.
Yeah, fucking disgusting. Anyway, on with the show. So we're into part 2 of Man Problems. And we got up as far as I think we finished on hair loss and getting older and all that jazz. So I think we'll kick off today, boys, with confidence, which is obviously a very broad term. But yeah, we can kind of tie that in with a lot of areas, I suppose. So Sauce, you can kick us off tonight, son. What would you like to say about confidence?
Confidence.
Let's talk about self-confidence in everyday life.
Self-confidence is... I think it's probably the main one that a lot of people suffer with, because you exude confidence even though you probably don't feel confident. We've touched on that before, when, you know, over here especially, you present your best foot forward on your stories, and, you know, when you meet people or whatever, you might come across confident, but on the inside maybe not as much. So it's the one thing that can solve a multitude of problems for you, because once you feel confident, you worry less. And that's probably the big one in there, worrying. So I mean, I worry because I don't feel, or I haven't felt in the past, maybe adequate in certain areas, and then as your confidence improves, that they just go away, and it's as simple as that. But you just can't bottle it. Can't. Everybody wants to, but you can't bottle it. I don't know. I would go out on a limb and say, I was going to ask you this as well. You know, I think when you move over here, you feel your confidence because you're doing something different. I think your confidence does improve, doesn't it, when you come over here? Like, obviously, I haven't really talking to him. You know, me and him have had chats. Fuck me, probably 25% of our fucking time in Oz has been deep chatting. But no, how have you found confidence? You come over here. Did you struggle a bit when you started off, or did you take like a fish to water?
I thought you weren't actually going to let you speak again. He's asked you the question and then just carried on.
Carry on rambling. You're rambling, man.
Dude, you can ramble.
Now, there is certain things that knock your confidence, and relocating to another country when you got no mates and you turn up to a new environment, whether that's rugby or work, and they don't understand your accent, they don't understand your humour. It is a bit of a confidence knocker, but it's with anything. Confidence every day is constantly getting knocked. But it's one of these things you've got to commit to, and it progresses and gets better over time. Like, I think back to when I passed my driving test. The first day I passed, I thought I was confident, cocky. I reversed into a boulder down Ogmore Beach and damaged the car straight away. Confidence was through the floor. Absolutely on edge driving home then with the boys in the back taking the piss and messing around. And your confidence is at the bottom, but then the next day you get back behind the wheel and you just crack on. And it's like anything. The more you do something, the bigger and better your confidence becomes. Whether that's public speaking, whether that's trialing a new haircut, you just got to go for it, haven't you?
Agreed. I was going to ask you quickly, how did you find, because obviously you, like myself, you've been a bit of a club slut in the past when it comes to rugby. You know,
no way, but I
got
ain't
about
that
the
bad.
bit, haven't you?
I haven't.
Got about the bit.
No.
Been to a few different clubs.
That it was part of the progressive journey. So you're starting off Division 1, 17, Championship, then 18 to 21 in university, and then into the Welsh Prem. And I did play for 3 clubs in the Welsh Prem. But I mean,
a lot of clubs then.
not all those decisions were in my control.
That's right. I'm not having a go. I was just going to ask you a question. You've had more clubs than I got in my golf bag, but half of them are snapped in half over my fucking knee. That's why. But I was going to say, how did you find going to different clubs and, you know, turning up to that first training session, say on your Todd? Did you find it easy to kind of integrate, or?
That's a good question, that is. I remember going to Newport after Cardiff met, and the very first session we were in a huddle, and one of the boys was like, "Get on about."
Oh.
He asked me to get a todger out in front of the full group, and I was like, because I'd been in that university environment, I was used to wild stuff, so I was like, not gonna do it, but I was like, genuine, like. And then they all just burst out laughing, and so that sort of broke the ice. And then you sort of get in with the group of the boys, and you make friends quite quick. It's easy to do that in rugby, but then going to Bridgend, it took me a bit longer because it's different group of boys, there's less people you know. But over time, it just becomes easier and easier. And coming to Australia, you just find someone who's in a similar boat as you, similar position, and it's got easy now. And you slot in a bit better, but. It's a good question, to be fair. I remember at the beginning, I was an outsider, a bit nervous, but you become more comfortable with things because I've done it so many times, as you think, Yeah,
no, like it's something I've struggled with quite a bit, to be fair, because like, I don't know, I think obviously, like you said, right, the more times you put yourself out of your comfort zone and do stuff you don't normally do, the more confident you get with doing that wild shit. So taking that first leap's always the hardest. But I always found it really hard to kind of integrate myself. I think, again, I don't know if it's a bit of fucking tism with me or what. But I think I was just so comfortable with my group of friends, and you're comfortable with your, the first team you play for, say, is full of your mates. Rocking up the training, I used to dread it on my own. I wouldn't know, I wouldn't force myself into conversations, and I felt like a bit of an outsider, I suppose, starting off in these new teams, and which I think is kind of natural and a lot of people go through. But yeah, certainly like my time at Ponty, I felt like, because I was struggling to crack the 23 initially, I was like travelling reserve a lot, so I kind of didn't really feel like one of the boys.
Yeah.
And that, I'm a confidence player with rugby, and
Yeah.
if I had no confidence, you've seen me have a shocker. It's fucking not good. But I think my biggest advice to anyone out there, obviously you take the plunge, you have that initial awkwardness where it's like you feel like a bit of a dick, you haven't really got any mates. You've got to just get out your comfort zone, have a go, and then get on a piss with the boys in a social. I think is the best way to, kind of be a part of it, because you kind of speak to everyone. It helps you come out your shell a bit. Everybody else comes out of their shell, and yeah, it's massive, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and you just got to say yes to stuff, and whether that's even in a work setting, if a couple of people go for a coffee, you just say yes, even if you don't like coffee. Like you go along, you got to put yourself out there, and you got to try with these new scenarios, new situations, and then over time it just does become easier. Then you get a bit older, a bit wiser, but just take that plunge, and you will swim, like you'll be alright.
Yeah, agreed. I think what it boils down to is whatever, you can be confident in one area and then have no confidence in another. And I think whatever thing you're working at is a skill, and the only way you're going to get better and hence get more confident is to put the reps in. So, whether it's talking to a girl, whether it's playing rugby, whether it's going to the gym and trying exercises or a class you've never been to, first rep's always the hardest, and then the more you do it, the better, I guess.
Time's the biggest one, and it's starting off initially. It's daunting, and you just can't really get away from that. Even if you're capable of doing it, it still feels daunting. But in a month's time, you'll be fine. You'll be laughing. You'll be enjoying yourself. But it's just time. It's time. It's giving it a go, like you said, and I would say
it's taking that first step, isn't it? Because you ain't just gonna go to bed one night and wake up the next morning confident. In whatever area, you've got to fucking take that plunge and get out your comfort zone. Otherwise, it changes.
It varies in degree, but 100%. Ultimately, the only reason why you're nervous and not confident is because you've got to take the plunge anyway. So it's once that's done and out of the way, it should get better. But I think you boys hit the nail on the head with the sports side of things. I only turned up training for a team in South Perth, and it was terrible. I felt I was becoming more confident. But then you realise, if I'm meeting the boys for rugby or whatever, sort of like a warm lead introduction in there where, you know a friend of a friend, so it's easier to make that effort. But I turned up literally, and I thought on time, but a bit late, because everybody else was there huddled up. And it was just that, you have to walk up, I am Alex. And they're like, who the fuck are you? You're like, yeah, no, I know. And but 10 minutes in, you've done it, you've turned up, and you just start you end up having a good session or whatever, and everything you worried about for the hour before turning up, sorted.
I just think you then think, oh fucking hell, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I put it off so long? Innit?
Yeah, and they've all been in that boat as well. Everyone's been in that position. So most people, if they're tidy and they're decent, they're going to cut you some slack.
They'll help you out.
Yeah, make an effort. Well, while we're on the topic of confidence, I think a book that resonated with both of us, Sauce, was James Smith's, I think it was his third book, and How to Be Confident.
Was it his third? Was it? I did read the other two, so I can.
What colour? I read the blue one, but is that orange, that one?
Black and yellow, I think.
Oh, black and yellow. No, I didn't read that one.
From memory. You haven't read it, have you?
I read the blue one. I thought that was alright.
So the life coach one.
I thought it was really good because you can tell he wrote it because there was some spelling mistakes. And because, he is he dyslexic?
Dyslexic, I think.
Yes, and you can tell he genuinely wrote that. So they're decent books, to be fair to him.
Yeah, but this one is obviously a self-help book, and I think that one is as well, isn't it? And I think the old self-help self-healing thing is a process that a lot of people go through, particularly like mid to late 20s, I think. Certainly when I went through it. And yeah, you know, I think there's some brilliant self-help books out there, but again, nothing's going to change. Like, reading about self-help is not going to change anything. You have to implement, you know, what these kind of books are saying. And yeah, I think like the whole how to be confident thing was, for me, like, I come out to Oz at 29. I've been in a long-term relationship, which, you know, didn't go as well as it could have, and yeah, ended up coming out with Sauce instead of someone else, which I'm now thankful for, of course. My Bearsy by her. But I was reading the book. I'm not a very fast reader, should we say. So I was reading the book on the way over in October, and I was still reading it in December. Yeah, I think it was December, because we flew back to Perth, didn't we, for New Year's Eve?
Yes.
So we'd been over to Sydney. Saw said in the last episode we had this festival booked that we couldn't afford, so we shot back to Perth. And I was on the plane reading How to Be Confident, and I, you know, later in the flight went down to the back for a pee, and I ended up, there was a big queue for the toilet, so I kind of got bundled into the back bit. And it was just, I looked to my right like that, and it was like a bit of a double take. It was like, fucking hell, just me and this air hostess. And she started talking to me and was like, you know, oh, how are you? Where are you from? What did you do for Christmas? Blah, blah, blah. And I had a bit of a chat with her, and I was like, fucking hell, she's amazing, like. So I go back to my seat, carry on reading How to Be Confident, and it was literally on the part where he's talking about having the bottle to, like, give your number to a stranger, or ask a stranger for their number. And believe it or not, boys, I was 29 at that point, right? I've never done that. So, like, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go for it. So I had a look at my bag, no pen. Asked my mate, Ash, who was on the flight with me. I was like, Ash, you got a pen, bud? No, nothing. So I was like, right, fuck it. I knew I had another 2 or 3 hours on the flight, so another hour went by. Obviously I need a piss again, bladder of a fucking 9-year-old. So I go down, have a pee, come out, and at this point all 4, so it was like two blokes, 2 girls, air hosts, hostesses, whatever you call them, stewards. And I was sorry to bother you all, has anyone got a pen I can borrow? And they looked at this girl and they went, I don't know if Pauline is the first name that's come to my head there. Her name was Pauline, right? But
she goes 60.
hey, she looked good for 58, they tell you. But they were like, oh, Pauline, have you got a pen you can borrow? And they're all a bit giggly. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, they're on to me there. But I thought, fuck it. She gave me a pen, went back to my seat, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And what James Smith said in his book is, your win, you define what the win is. So the win is not giving her your number and then her texting you. The win is the act of actually having the bollocks to do it.
Yeah, I like
so
that.
I was like, fuck it, I'm going for it. So I wrote something cheesy on there. If you ever come to Cardiff and you need a tour guide, let me know, blah, blah, blah. I left my number and my name, little kiss. And then I was ready to hand it in, right? And about 10 minutes before we landed, this one of the air stewards come and sat next to me, and he went, sorry to bother you, sir. The girl at the back has asked me to give you this. So he handed me a napkin with her name, Instagram, and her number on it.
No
Fucking
way.
hell. Yeah.
Do you give you a napkin back to him? Do you swap napkins?
I went, fuck off. He went, sorry? I said, well, I've just written my name and number on you for her.
For you to give to
And he's
Pauline.
like, oh my God, for Pauline's going to be so excited. So, I think I've still got the napkin as well. Kept it.
We need to get that out. We need to see that. What come of it then? Did you speak to Pauline again, or what?
Well, I did message her. So she lived in Sydney. She was never going to work out. You know, when you fall in love with someone on the other side of the country, it's never a good idea, is it? But, sorry, that's a low blow.
It's alright.
But, yeah, like I said, my win there that was almost like a sign for me, like, fucking pull your head out your ass, because you know, I always fucking second guess myself, and I'm like, oh, she's too good for me. Nothing's gonna come of it. And it was like, right, fucking hell, you can make something happen better. So yeah, that's my little story.
I think that's an unreal story, because especially when a lot of boys listening probably will not feel too confident when it comes to girls and, you know, approaching them or whichever, and that's about as big as it gets. Because I wouldn't be able to do it.
Do you reckon?
Not sober, I don't think.
See, that's a problem, isn't
yeah,
it?
but then I was going to say, like, obviously, so that book's resonated well with you. But I think it's also reading the right book at the right time with it, because obviously another book we got on the list, which I think me and you have both read as well. Have you read this one, Jim? It's called Sumo.
About sumo wrestlers?
Probably a couple of... Fuck all, really. No.
What does it stand for?
It stands for shut up and move on.
Okay. I haven't read that one. I'll have to get on that.
That in my opinion is the best one I've read, because I read How to Be Confident before that, and I needed a bit more work than just How to Be Confident at the time. I needed to delve a bit deeper into, you know, some other underlying issues, and yeah, Sumo was the one that resonated with me initially, because it talks a lot about, like, sort of a victim mentality, which is a bit of a grey area, because it's purely subjective. Who am I to say what people can feel a bit of a victim for or whatever? But it basically tells you to take responsibility for pretty much everything. Easier said than done, but at the time it was applicable to me, because I thought every time something went wrong or I was bad luck and I wasn't really looking at what I was doing, you know, how does my behaviour affect an outcome or whichever. And that was the book that made me start taking responsibility for everything. It was like, you know, if you want to get better in the gym, just purely down to you. It's like, you know, I don't think I got the best metabolism in the world, but that's not the reason why I can't get to where I want to get to. And no, that was the best book I read so far. I might come on to another one as well now, but
yeah, I think that the whole victim thing is massive, because like I was definitely guilty of blaming the universe for fucking being against me, for, you know, all the bad luck I was having, and it's bollocks, really, isn't it? It's just most of it's in your control, and then even if it's not, you can still control how you react. And that was a massive learning for me. And I think learning to kind of take responsibility instead of point the finger at someone else was like a bit of a relief, really. It was like a weight off my shoulders.
I was just going to say it's freeing, because I sort of realised I felt a bit more in control then of, like, and that started to become related to anything then in Oz. It was like, if you want to be better with your money, or it's within your control to make your money go further. You know, the universe isn't conspiring against you to say piss your money up against the wall. You can change that, and then when you change that, then you have more disposable income for other things or whichever, and, you know, things snowball from there in terms of, like, not being confident when it comes to meeting people, not just girls but just people in general. You can control that. You can put a bit of time into, I say listening to podcasts, it's not the green light to success, but try listening to podcasts and something will stick. You'll have somebody give you a perspective, and then you just act upon that, and that opens the doors you were looking for.
What's your experience with self-help, Jim? Have you been an exponent of any...
Exponent?
Is that a word?
Is that a word? I don't know if that's...
You made out.
It's a word, but I don't know if it's the right context.
What do you mean now? What by self-help? I haven't had the time to read books like you boys see. I'm flat out.
I work for a living, you man.
I'm vertigo. I'm not always on like you boys, taking it easy. So I haven't read too many books. I've only read Secret Agent books and the action.
And what did you learn about that? What did that teach you?
Bad guys can never shoot. The good guy is always the best shooter in the room. He always gets the girl, and it's a pipe dream I wish I was living, but unfortunately I'm not.
You'd be a shit spy, but no offense.
So in terms of self-help,
spotted a mile off now.
You don't have to necessarily be books, like, you know, any like pods or audio books you've kind of...
Yeah, through different stages. Started with Stephen Bartlett before he was on like Dragon's Den, before he went quite big. I used to like some of his stuff then, but when it was just him. now he just has a lot of beauties on there, and it's all about the clickbait and stuff, like
Yeah.
certain segments.
Not a fan.
He was good. He had some really helpful stuff, business wise and mental wise and personal wise. And then Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
brilliant. I went to a
Quality.
phase in COVID. Really liked some of his stuff. So I was more the podcast route, because you know when I'm flat out so busy, it's easier to chuck a podcast on. But in terms of help for me, I am found my own way so much. It's been more with people around me, whether that's through Tash, whether that's through the boys. That's been my sort of saving grace, is people around me have given me that guidance and help, you know.
I think you know, from the outside looking in at you, you don't seem afraid to try stuff.
Oh, thank you, bud.
You're welcome, bud. And
Unless it's spicy, I'll give anything a go unless it's spicy.
I think one day I'm hoping to use you as inspiration, and I might try cutting the grass, but I'm not sure if I'm there just yet. Maybe read Sumo again and see what happens.
You're too busy reading books to cut the grass. You're leaving that to me.
But no, actually, too busy editing the podcast and making reels, actually, but you can do that if you want.
I appreciate the comment, though. I do think you've got to give things a go. Like skydiving, like I got forced into that through Tash. I didn't want to give that a go, but it was one of the coolest things I've done. And
Hell of an experience.
you've done it as well, haven't you, Sauce?
I done it over Christmas and New Year, yeah. Fucking, I didn't think 2.5 years ago I'd be jumping out to planes, but yeah, and well, here we are. I didn't think I'd be doing a podcast either, and we're sat down now, so
No, exactly. But those little things, like they set you up for the next sort of chapter of your life, and doing a skydive is.
And then what are we
brilliant for
thinking? So
confidence.
obviously, like you just said, but there, once you start doing things, it becomes easier. And I think that's the sort of stage I'm at now, where there's definitely things that I'd always keep trying to improve and, you know, shoot for better results in. But ultimately, I would have said that I wasn't a confident person at all. I didn't feel confident, especially when I came over to Oz. But we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have some level of confidence. Now, that's not to say, you know, we can present an image and you think to yourself, oh, you know, obviously the boys are sat having a laugh and they're putting it up on the internet or whatever. They've got to be confident. It's not always the case, you know. Behind a closed door, we're not as always as happy-go-lucky as we might appear on you. But
Really that.
you do things like jump out of a plane, start a podcast, and then when
Move
you
to the other side of the planet.
you know, you think to yourself, oh, I need a bit of a push for it. Then you sort of, what you're doing in your life contradicts what's in your own head, and that could be a bit of a big thing with confidence. There's a voice inside your head, but when your life contradicts what that's saying, I think it becomes a bit easier then as well, because you sort of think, well, hang on, I don't need to listen to that anymore.
Yeah, I think, like we said earlier, it's that first step's always the hardest in there, and I think we build up these things to be such massive issues in our head, you know, like whether it's posting on social media, you want to you're collecting your granny's grogs, or you know, you're an artist, you're a personal trainer, you want to start your own podcast. Like that first leap, like no one gives a fuck really. Like you got to think, you know, like you're worried about what your mates are gonna say, and you're gonna end up in the WhatsApp group. Hardly anyone's gonna fucking see it, are they?
No.
You're not. You know, you might get lucky on TikTok and have 1 million views on your first video, but it's probably not gonna happen. You're gonna have 10 views probably. So why worry when you're shit? That you're gonna be shit to start off. Why worry about being shit when no one's looking? I think just fucking have a crack at it, and then when you get better, that's when you start building an audience anyway. So just put the fucking reps in, innit? Like,
This is a bit cringy, but the one saying that stuck with me was a bit of a football analogy. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
love that.
And that was the one that sort of stuck with me, because ultimately you can't, even if in your own head you've got something working against you, you can't disagree with that. It's like if you want an outcome, you're only going to achieve it by giving it a go, and then whatever comes after that, don't know.
Yeah, we're going back to the self-help thing, and I think it's quite easy to get sucked into this constant like self-improvement trap, and I think that's a bit of a dangerous game, because I think you end up never giving yourself credit.
When's enough, like?
Yeah, exactly. Where do you draw the line? And you end up looking for more things to improve, and I don't think there's anything wrong with looking to get better, but you got to realise that you know, as you progress, your progress is going to slow up. It's like the gym, for example. You know, when you're a beginner, you make gains straight away, and then the more advanced you get, the harder it gets to make progress. So I think it's important not to get caught in that trap. But I think, you know, in terms of self-improvement, self-help, there's some great content out there. I think, you know, Modern Wisdom, some of Stephen Bartlett's stuff is class. Diary of a CEO, and
Yeah,
like
he
you
is
said,
a good
some of
talker.
his early stuff. Sumo, the one you mentioned, Sauce, Shut Up, Move On, is fucking brilliant, and it's short and sharp. There's these actionable steps that you can take in any situation, and you know, one of them is whatever problem you're faced with, you think 6 months down the track and go, right, how big is this problem going to be in 6 months? And usually it's not going to be fucking huge, is it?
No. I mean, you look back, you know, if I speak from experience, you know, maybe a year ago, the problem was there. A year on, it's gone.
Yeah.
And at the time, Jesus Christ, it felt like it was the end of the world.
But it does.
Doesn't it?
But a year on, you're like... But then I think as well, though, I don't know if this is me waffling again, most likely, but you still need to go through that to learn to try and not do that in the future. It's like, I do sort of know from how much I beat myself up and then it eventually working out. I wouldn't do it at that level again, because you sort of know, don't take it for granted, everything's going to work out, but if you put in the right... If you're putting the right effort in, because that's a bit subjective, but if you're trying, I think if you're trying, it'll sort itself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then the other classic ones are Atomic Habits. I think that's fucking brilliant.
I got fucking shitloads of bad ones, so I didn't really fucking resonate too much with me.
Not many of them are atomic, mind. They're fucking astronomic.
We fucking covered you with fucking nuclear ones in here, so don't worry about that.
And then the subtle art of not giving a fuck. I think that's
Cracker.
yeah. You know, they're the classic ones that everyone reads, but spot
And
on.
you'll be pleased to know, obviously we've given, well, I don't know if Reese has, but I might have given the impression I'm quite an avid book reader. That's not the case. That's 3 books in 3 years, that is.
One a year, but it's a good rate.
One a year, and there's not a 4th on the horizon anytime soon, so that's probably it for me.
Imposter syndrome, lads. I think
Have to explain that one to me a bit.
so. It's when you end up, say you end up with a new job, right? And you turn up to work. You've got this full team of people who are looking up to you. You're managing them, and you're like, "Fuck, I don't feel qualified to do it."
Yeah, I know.
And I think, yeah, I've certainly had that a lot. I've had that in rugby.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been the same with you, Jim, but
I've had it in work, definitely had it in work. And
Yeah.
I mentioned it to someone the other day, and they're like, don't worry about it. You've only been here a couple of months. It takes a good few months to settle in. So what point I'm making is speak to someone about it. Speak to someone about it, and they'll help your confidence. They'll help you understand, and they'll help you out in general, give you advice. But it is a real thing, and sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you think, whoa, am I qualified to be here? But you are. There's a reason you're in that room. There's a reason you got a job and you're picked for the team. It's because people know and people do support you and believe you can do the task at hand. So it's just, yeah, getting comfortable, speaking to someone for advice and help, and just ploughing on, because you are in the right place at the right time.
100%. You wouldn't be there if you weren't qualified, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the whole like Dunning-Kruger thing. Are you familiar with that? Dunning-Kruger effect. I've seen that graph where it's like there's a big peak early on, and then it drops into the valley of despair, and then it gradually comes back up again.
Yeah.
Have you posted about that?
I have, yeah.
I feel like that's why it rings a bell.
I
Yeah.
posted about that. I probably read it in a self-help book, to be honest. But yeah, so basically what it is when you pick up a new skill, right, when you initially start doing it, you get this massive surge in confidence. So you're like, fuck, I'm really good at this. So when you start in fitness, for example, a lot of people do this. They get into the gym and they start seeing progress, and they get a bit of momentum, and they're posting all over their social media. It's like, fucking, I'm flying, I know exactly what I'm doing. And then as you learn more about the subject, your confidence kind of can drop a bit, because you kind of realise, like, holy fuck, there's more to this than I thought.
There's a lot I don't know.
And then you get to this point where you're like, you learn more and more, and you realise there's so much out there I don't know. You end up in this fucking trough of despair where you're like, I'm never going to get the grips with this. And then what sets apart the amateurs from the experts is the experts have started to climb back up gradually again on that scale. And it's like, there's a lot that I don't know, but I'm going to give myself credit, and there's, I know plenty, but I'm also aware of my limitations. And that's where I think what you said is helpful, just having conversations with people, because it kind of reassures you that you know what you're on about if you have a deep conversation with them. And then also you can kind of realise, right, well, he's got some limitations as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you're part of a team as well, I think that's what it's all about. Now you kind of help each other out.
Does that tie in a little bit to what you were saying now about like not beating yourself up as well? Because on about the peaks and troughs, they're probably only so severe because that you beat yourself up.
Yeah.
Because you're not giving yourself credit, or like you said, what separates the good from the bad is, right, yeah, I'm here, but I know how to try and get to there. But because you think to yourself, well, I don't deserve to start up here to begin with. And I think, I don't know if that ties into imposter syndrome as much, but I think it's worth just noting that, like, the way you speak to yourself and, the language you're using in your own head, that plays a massive part. And I don't know what the solution is to try and get people to be a bit friendlier with themselves. But, it's a soft way of putting it. But I think the more credit you can give yourself, and like you said, you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And you've got to let yourself know that. It's not about being cocky, because that don't come easy to a lot of people. But yeah, you're there for a reason, so you're not doing too bad.
Yeah, exactly. And people need to remember it's a journey. You're not at the end. You're on this path, and you can't be comparing yourself to too many other people. Like in work, I found myself being amazed at how some people know certain things, and I'm like, how do you know that? And he's like, oh, I've been working here 20 years. Like, I've been here 3 months. I'm comparing myself to someone who's been here 20 years.
You think I should know what he knows?
Yeah.
But like you said, you haven't been here the length of time.
Yeah. He's been on the journey longer than I have. Different scenarios. So try not to beat yourself up, because you're not at the end. You're always growing.
In terms of work for you, how did you find it? Like, obviously doing quite well at a younger age. I say younger age, say mid to late 20s. Because I obviously in my job now, I haven't got a career progression or whichever, but I had my first position when I was 21, and I was an apprentice one day, and then I was an assistant manager the next, and literally, like, it was horrendous. I went from having, obviously still had the support network, but I went from being mentored, so, you could only fall so far, and then next day it was like, oh, hang on, I can't, I'm not the one asking the questions, I'm the one telling, and it was the biggest rude awakening I ever had. And it got better, but it was that initial, I think that must have felt like imposter syndrome to me, because overnight it was like, oh, hang on, I got people coming to me now.
Yeah.
And it was hard, because I thought, I'm 21, there's somebody in the yard who's 55, been doing this for 30 years, how do I tell him what to do? What's the way of doing it? And yeah, that was a steep learning curve, but then again, like you said, it's not easy. Maybe the older you get, it gets a bit easier to back yourself a bit more, but at the time of 21, it was like, all right, I've had some director tell me, oh yeah, you've got potential or whichever, but I didn't feel like I could put it into practice.
Yeah, but that would have been such a massive experience for you then, wouldn't it? And like, that's something you probably take for granted now, but having that, 6 or 7 years ago, whatever it was, that's fucking huge for your confidence building in a work environment moving forward.
So the learning curve of that was how to deal with, like, I used to feel guilty for not knowing. Whereas now, not knowing isn't the problem. Like, you have got to find it out. But the initial not knowing isn't a problem, because you learn how to communicate as well. And you say to people, like, oh yeah, I'm not sure of that now, but give me X amount of time, I'll get back to you.
I think that's massive, but and I learned this from a bloke called Lane Norton, who's a real good strength conditioning, nutrition, social media presence, I suppose. And he said, a proper expert, if they don't know the answer to something, will not be afraid to say, I don't know. It's not like I'm going to try and bullshit my way out of this. It's just, you say, I don't know. I'm going to go away and find out for you.
It'd be very comparable for you if somebody's asked you a fitness question that you might assume, oh, I should know that. But if you just don't,
you feel a prick, like, and when you first start off, you think you should have all the answers, don't you? But yeah, like, hearing someone like him who's been doing it for fucking 20 odd years say that is like, it's a massive relief, because you can just go, yeah, at this stage, I'm not sure, sorry, I'll find out for you.
one, you come across a lot better to whoever's asked you the question, but two, when you do give them the information, it sticks with them more because they feel as if you've taken the time to give them a suitable answer.
100%.
And yeah, that's a big one in terms of work as well, because I'd be over the counter or whichever, and somebody would ask me a question and I wouldn't know, and instead of telling them I don't know, I'd go and ask somebody, but all I had to do was say, just give me 2 minutes. I had a computer in front of me. I could have literally gone on the computer and got the answer, but instead I would go and turn my back, go and speak to somebody, make it clear I didn't know, and then in turn I didn't realise at the time that I wasn't helping myself.
Right.
But that's learning. It's learning. Tangent.
It's the only way, innit? But I think we'll round it off here, boys, before we go into the questions, with gratitude, because I think it's hard to give yourself credit for how far you come, innit?
You get lost. You get lost, and why I found gratitude to be such a big one is because you're on this journey, moving to Oz, trying to get yourself set up, whatever you're trying to do, whether it's make friends, find a partner, decide what you want to do, how you're going to stay in the country,
be self-sufficient.
You get lost, and it becomes a minefield, and then you forget to feel grateful for everything else you're doing. So I had it a few months back where I'm out in Oz, 35 degree, got a beach on a doorstep. I couldn't ask for more, but I didn't care. I didn't feel grateful for it, and it can lead to feeling miserable because couldn't be asked to ring family because I just didn't care. Not that I didn't care about my family, but it was
So what's this? You got something on the brain like this?
Yeah, it's like you're stressing over maybe not liking the job. How am I going to stay in the country? Could be a girl problem or whatever, and it occupies you to the point you forget about what you should feel grateful for. And that's where gratitude and getting gratitude back was fucking huge to turning the fortunes.
Any wise words, Jim?
No, I feel gratitude is something I'm not good at all. It's definitely something I want to improve on, because it bugs me that quite often I go on holidays. I look forward to going on holidays, and then whilst I'm on the holiday, I'm planning the next holiday. I'm thinking of the next one, and I'm not content. I'm not content with the moment. You might have done it last week when you went to Sydney. You'd be thinking, oh, next time when we come to Sydney end of the year, we'll do this. You're not in the moment and you're not content. And it's as soon as I got this job, I was looking at my manager's job thinking, right, because you build up to get to this level, and as soon as you're there, you're on to the next one, and he's
next?
Just chill out.
Is George Mack? Is that his thing?
I don't know, it might be. I haven't read it, sorry. I'm not good at
I'm sure that's a modern wisdom. Is this bloke called, he's mates with, called George Mack. He's out on a few times, and I've heard him explain that. He's fucking great as well, so have a look at some of his stuff.
Okay.
But I think you're right, yeah. I think we just move the goalpost, don't we? I think
Constantly,
but last year, the year before, we won the grand final, and I'm just thinking, right, let's go again. Thinking how the day you do it, and it's just, it bugs me that my mind is that way. Just chill out, have 5 in it.
The holiday one is so comparable to everything else we said in terms of work, but me and Kev just went over to Sydney, and you get one day out of the way. You're there for 4, and that's a long weekend, so it's plenty of time. But as soon as that first night comes and goes, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta go home on Tuesday. But it's you're not even 25% of the way through your trip.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Don't worry about what's going to happen or what comes next. But
I think it's the way we're wired, and then it's
is
hard to just live in the moment. And I think, I've tried some meditation, and there's aspects of that are fucking brilliant, but I'm not good enough at it to fully appreciate living in the moment, and still something I got to work on. And maybe, Sauce, you're onto something with the journaling, but I know it's early doors, but have you found any kind of...
Yeah, what's the crack?
So for me, it was just more a case of, it was something, you hear on podcasts, a couple of mates have said they've given it a go, and I'm just one of them where if I don't feel an improvement in my situation, I'm not naive enough to think I'm doing enough. So it was just something else to give a go. I'll take it with me now. I'm obviously going back to work tomorrow. It'll be something I'll do, follow it every day. I never thought I'd be writing in a journal. I don't know what to expect from it, but I'll commit to it for, I think it's a 30-day thing, so for the next 30 days I'll see what I'm by and then report back after that. But
update the viewers and listeners.
Something to give a go, and that's sometimes all you need.
You'll have to let us know how it goes. So what are you writing? Are you writing what you like or what you
dislike? So my initial thoughts are like it's quite very therapist-y. It's like, what are you feeling? What's your goals? Just write down whatever comes into your head. And I sort of enjoyed doing it yesterday because you just start to think a little bit about what you're writing. And like sometimes when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm not a brilliant reader, so I might read a book but don't mean it's sunk in or whichever. But when you're sort of in your head, you are sort of just thinking a bit more. And it's just how do you feel, how do you want to feel out there, take time to reflect during the day, things to think about, pause. And for a lot of blokes, you take for granted going to the gym, whereas say to yourself, good on you. Like, you got up and you've had a go, you've gone to the gym, you've achieved something. Yeah. I haven't got to be the gym, it can be whatever anybody's done in a day, because apparently, maybe this is going a bit too deep, but like I had it pointed out to me by a therapist, was everybody achieves something in a day. So when you feel or think you haven't, you have.
I think that's massive, but because I will lie in bed at the end of the day, and that's when your mind's going 10 to the dozen in there. And I think, fuck, I feel unfulfilled. Because it might be one thing that I kind of wish I'd done. And that's all you focus on. You don't think of all the good stuff you've done and all the progress you've made that day. You kind of hone in on that little shitty part. So I think if you are writing it down and kind of tick boxing, that's got to be more satisfying and fulfilling.
Well, I've heard you say to me before about like how you feel it, like maybe a Sunday night or whatever, or where you might have had X amount of work to do. You didn't quite get it all done. You're never quite thinking, well, I got 70% done. I still got 30 left to do. And then you're not taking into account other things you've taken on board, like maybe editing this as well. But yeah, something to see. I'll report back on it.
Yeah, look forward to that. Love that.
Hey.
That's what I think.
That's about us. Onto the questions.
Onto the questionnaires. There's a couple of explicit ones here that we cannot ask, unfortunately.
No, we can't.
Is it?
There's a. Well, look at that. But there for one. I mean,
is that the one from Jamie Hill?
Yeah, that is the one from Jamie Hill. I mean, thin ice I'm skating on, and as the viewers may or may not know, I mean, you've got Jim, who's very much level-headed, offers a lot of value, valued opinions. Reese is presenting the show very well. I'm simply here to fucking get made a twat of in question time.
I don't know, I think I'm not far off you now. Maybe not so much in question time, but just in general, after Tasha's turned my name to Madya.
But right,
what's the first one?
Go on and Reese, your question master.
It's a great question from Kieran Williams.
Oh, fuck for that.
While we're on the topic of mental health, how does Sauce deal with his mental health supporting Arsenal?
Right, so I can't give a humorous response to this one. Very well, because I've grown up and we were doing well, and then I started going
That's why you started supporting him, isn't
it? Thierry Henry, the king, the greatest sportsman to have ever lived, by quite the country mile, I might add as well. No, I'm supporting again. This is easy bet, because when I started going to games when I was 18, I used to spunk a lot of money travelling up and down the country, probably 3, 4, 5 grand a year, going to anywhere between say 12 and 20 games a season for about 5 years.
Do you ever do a cold night in Stoke?
I didn't do a cold night in Stoke. No. I reckon a cold Saturday in West Brom where we lost 3-1 at the Hawthorns was
there's that photo of you?
There's that photo of me, aye.
Have you seen that?
I still haven't seen this. You told me about it.
We need to try and get our hands on that. It's brilliant.
But no, the Gunners went through a turbulent time, didn't they, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, where we couldn't get in the Champions League or whichever. And now we're finishing second every year, and we are going to win the league soon. And Jacob Whitfield may or may not be watching. We're going to win the Champions League this season as well. So.
Oh, Christ, that's a big statement. Probably lost to Real twice by the time this goes up.
Alright, already 7-0 down on aggregate anyway.
Another serious question. The first one definitely wasn't a serious question. From the Sober Dad. Do any of you feel like alcohol is a problem and would like to cut back / out completely?
So before we get into a serious topic, this is going to keep Jim up for 20 minutes, but if I ramble on, so I'll let Jim go into that one before. I know you want to go to bed. Yes, alcohol is very much a problem. But it's one that's within my control because it's me putting it down my neck. I would never want to stop drinking alcohol because a lot of the good times we've had have been after a drink. It's just about having a bit of discipline and control, which has sometimes eluded me. I feel as if it's getting better, so I don't feel like a lost cause with it. But yeah, it's definitely a problem because the reality is I've woken up the next morning and I have I've severely impacted my life for the worse, and it's not a valid reason to blame. I mean, and that's not me talking deep. If anybody's got issues with it, like I'm just saying for myself, it's not a valid reason. It's me drinking it, and if I didn't drink as much on a night, I'd have a different. I'd be better off. But that's something for me to work on, and I will do. What do you think, Jim?
No, it's a good question, to be fair. I've never thought it's been a problem. It is definitely something I'd like to stop for a couple of months to see how it goes, see if there is any benefits. But at the minute, it's more the cost that's becoming a problem. It's taking a piss over here.
Especially out there,
Yeah. It's like London over here, innit? The prices.
I think for me, again, I wouldn't say alcohol's a problem, but I think probably I am maybe a bit too reliant on it to have a good time and, get that extra bit of confidence, I suppose, and false confidence, Dutch courage, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, ultimately, I think it's a big part of our culture growing up back home in here, and again, we do take it to the extreme. I think, when you, like this week, for example, I had a quiet weekend, and the mental clarity you've got on a Monday when you haven't been out on a Saturday and stayed up till God knows when and drinking all sorts, making bad decisions and sending shitty texts and whatever.
It's the worst, innit?
It's the worst,
The worst.
And you haven't got that anxiety, and all the simple tasks feel so much harder, and you're not as sharp as you could be. Everything feels like effort. It affects your mood. So yeah, it's not good, but I think it's like anything. I think if you can moderate it, it's fine. I think it's not healthy, but I think mentally it probably can be in a way if you're sensible with it. But
I think it's a contributing factor more than the problem.
Yeah,
it's a contributing factor if it gets out of hand. But yeah, no, you're spot on with it.
I take my hat off to anyone who cuts it out, because I think, what's the saying? Alcohol's the only drug where if you don't use it, people assume you got a problem.
That's a great saying.
Well, they judge you even more. They judge you big time. But it's an awful drug, alcohol. It's one of the worst, but
it's wild. The financial side of it is a massive one, because it's if you just had 3 or 4 pints instead of 9 or 10, that is a norm for us. If we're going to have a session, you are going to drink 9-10 pints, and over here, that's before then you probably move on to short. So you're looking $200 or $300 a night. And it's just not sustainable.
It's not, is it? It's a mad mentality. Like earlier, I was looking at getting Paramount on the app for $10 a month, and I was thinking, nah, $10 a month.
But
then you're buying a pint for $16, and you're having 4 a night. It doesn't make sense.
No, it's wild. Quick one then from Nippy Naps, Old Hayes. Who has the better facial routine? What's your routine?
Facial routine. Oh, fuck me. To be fair, boys, I
keep your mind out to get there.
No, whoa. I did think it. Mine's probably gonna win, not because it's the best. It's just
most expensive.
It's mine's like a fucking tartan bag, isn't it? It's like I got heavy. I got big fan. Is it Nivea or L'Oreal? What's the Powerade range? I think that's L'Oreal.
Couldn't tell you, but
yeah, it's L'Oreal. That is. I don't bother with Nivea. L'Oreal's better. Yeah, but I got the moisturising cream. I got the hyaluronic acid serum. That's
do any of this stuff does like?
Yeah, it's meant to reverse the signs of aging. And I got Powerade, which is like a little eye serum cream. Currently got 4 things for my eyes at the minute, and oh shit, I didn't get any more. I think I seen there's a collagen mask in the fridge. I did know if it was Tasha's because I forgot it was on him, but I'll take that with me down at mine's now.
I think it's yours, but I can definitely agree yours is the most expensive and the influencer's dream of a facial.
100%.
But I just use hot water. Hot shower in the morning, hot shower in the night.
Do you put moisturiser on?
I do now because it's got SPF in it, because living in Australia, Tash got on my case about wearing sun cream.
Apparently that's good for anti-aging as well, SPF.
Is it the SPF?
You're a smooth looking bloke, you know. Got a very smooth looking bloke.
But I'm not like you, I can't grow a beard. I still can't grow one.
You know, I'm not having a proper deep look, but I can see, you see there's a bit of
just-
stuff.
You shave, like, we're
Every day.
leaving little to the imagination, but you shave everything, don't you? Are we eating, or are we literally just like
No, I'd never veet. I've
number
seen,
one all over? Like,
Oh,
Nah.
it's a fucking pain in the
I've
ass.
seen boys go through some sore times with veet. I don't like hair, to be honest, but so yeah, trying to keep the only hair is the eyebrows and the head.
yeah, nice. That's it, innit? Like, that's what happens as you get older. You start growing hair everywhere else.
Not
apart from
even,
on your
not
fucking
even a
head.
bit of designer down here, like, you know, not even a bit of fucking
Brazilian.
bit of protection against crabs or something, like, you know, keep a boy.
Keep your old boy warm.
But I
Like,
said you gotta have a bit. They need to protect against crabs, apparently.
You'll meet the Zohan over here, like.
is that your excuse? Is it?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Like fucking Jumanji down there. Won't ask that one. Great question here from Adam Marshall. How can we help James get his rugby back on track?
Who's this? Is this Marshy, the one that's tighter than a submarine door?
The third winger, yeah.
The third winger doesn't
yeah,
even
third
play
grade.
for the ones. The one who cries with one eye closed to safety is he's that tight. That
Yeah.
one.
Tight
I
down
just
what?
love to
Submarine door.
sit down, we.
I sit down with you even in the daytime. No, Marsh, you're in no position to ask that question, but you can't even catch a ball. So come
Oh,
back
that was
to
a
me.
bite. That was
Get-
a big bite.
Brad, he wants an answer, I'll give him one. And
He
if he
wants
wants
that.
any more, I'll meet him outside.
Yeah, no, that was a great question, Marsh. That really tickled me when I read that for the first time. More of the same, please. We need more of that for James. Is Heath Little related to you, Jim?
He is my cousin, first cousin. Good boy. He's a good friend of the pod as well. He likes listening.
Give him a shout out then, son.
Yeah, he's dropped a message here. Would appreciate a shout out. The boys get sad too. A clothing brand that donates profits to charity. Brilliant cause. I think that's more for the UK listeners. I'm not sure if we have it over here. I'll have to double check. But
If you do deliver to Australia, James has said he will buy a t-shirt for all three of us. So just send the details over.
but no, I appreciate the message here, Ethan boy. That's a great cause, and it's true what the title is. Boys do get sad too.
Hey, fucking right they do. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
boys don't cry, men do.
Amen.
Fucking, this one does a fucking lot of it.
Kai Davis, what's your go-to when you're a little bit too stressed out? How do you deal with it?
Oh, nice question.
Sauna for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, sauna's my one thing over here. I was the same back home. It's just, obviously I do a lot of walking, and walking helps a lot for me. Walking's fucking huge, but just that time in plunge pool and sauna over here. Mainly sauna, like the plunge pool's great, but not everywhere's going. But just a little sit in a sauna, just sort of mental battle, trying to stay in there for as long as you can, and just leave feeling better than when you went in.
I like that. I might give that one a go. My answer for Kai Boy is just either going to the gym. I feel like a million times better after the gym. I think that's quite a generic one, isn't it? Or just going out for a bit of food, you know? Bit of food. Try something
Little
different.
yochi.
Bit of yochi, which is a dessert chain over here. What are you, Reece? You got any tips?
Again, might be a bit of a biased opinion, and it might be why I'm a PT, I suppose, but it's either just saying exercise is the
Exercise
key
in
to-
general.
It's one of the best stress relievers there are. I think, I use rugby as, one thing, the best thing I think about rugby is that 80 minutes on a Saturday is the 180 minutes in your week where you get to just forget about everything else.
It's
And
class,
just
isn't
focus
it?
on that.
You don't think about anything.
Nothing else.
I'm going to miss that, like when we stop playing, that sort of escape from the real world. So yeah, sport, gym, sauna.
I think you said walking, Sauce. I think like that's one of the biggest things for me instantly you feel better. And I just think we're designed to move. Like I have, if you're stuck on something, if you're struggling to get the fucking cogs turning in your head, as soon as you go for a walk, you're a different person when you come back.
If you're dwelling on something and it's stressing you out and it's giving you maybe a bit of anxiety or whatever, you're sitting on a sofa watching a program, it's not going to give you
anything,
just literally nothing. And that's, of course there's a time and a place for it, but I just think, walking in relation to the question, if you're stressed, little walk, I'm going to be long, a little half hour, bit of music on or a bit of a podcast, and you just come back feeling better than how you did before.
Listen to Chuck Sunday Coffee Club on and go for a walk, innit? Easy.
Nice.
Rob Connick, what's a secret that the boys don't know?
We can just be
anything you want, but
what's
just
a
pick one.
secret? Alright, well give me 2 seconds, Jim, you go first if you go on.
You can't check it on me.
If you're going to say I've
Straight
been
up.
using your face cleanser in the shower, I do know that, so you don't have to say
I
that.
haven't touched it, honestly I haven't. I've hammered, you fucking help us in, I hold my hands up, but I have not touched. I did have some of his curly poo cream as well the other day, which to be fair, it did work. But,
What, the pot that I threw down the stairs earlier?
yeah,
or-
that one earlier. What's the secret the boys don't know?
I think for me, a couple of bits you don't know. When you first moved in, I didn't like some of the mugs you brought with you.
And you binned them?
So I might have binned a couple of them.
Well, I noticed that, obviously.
Do you know what? It's not a well-kept secret, but I will own up to it. Yes, if I do run out of protein powder or creatine, I will have a spoonful.
Knew it.
I know why.
Knew it.
That's not a secret, like.
Nah, to be fair, you've been putting up with it for 2 years.
Yeah.
No, but it was always handy because it was a piece of piss. Just wait for the fucker to leave for work. He's in the wiser. And I watch him come back and he's doing this thing with his hand, like he's picking a bag up and he's just trying to give it a little weight.
On the weighing scales, it's 30 grams light there for some reason.
It's like it says, I get 30 servings out of this. I've had 12. Now, we have to come back to that. I wasn't prepared for the question.
Yeah, I don't know. A secret to the boys now. I got loads of secrets.
I got fucking closet full of the cunts, but
You can come out of the closet anytime you want. But you're amongst friends.
ideal.
We'll round it off then with a question from. What?
He said go out to the closet, you'll be amongst friends. I said ideal.
Ideal. Question from Jack Sheeran, and to round us off, picks his nose and eats it. Disgusting. How can I be just like sauce?
Oh, you wouldn't want to be, but in fairness to Jack, boy, we're not too dissimilar. You're having a good go over here yourself. So yeah, we're similar minded. Me and you both made our fair share of mistakes, I'm sure, but we're on the right path. So that's all you need to be like.
Hopefully this pod inspires you, Jack, to fucking start having a go yourself, but because I've never met anyone like him, right? And if he starts posting TikToks and, you know, just put a fucking mic on yourself, but when you're cutting someone's hair,
Hell of a
just put yourself
character,
out there, because you are gold. I think
Absolute comedy gold, but in fairness too.
But genuine, I think, like, if we got a list of, you know, guests we want to get on the pod, he's in my top 3.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shay the Penguin, Sheeran, and I need to think of a third if I'm going to respond to a top 3 shout.
Nice. Fucking real smooth to finish the episode. Anything else before we go, lads?
Just well, I think we covered a few points that we thought of throughout the episode. But if we get any feedback or anybody else has got some, just topics for discussion we've missed out, we can always revisit this later.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we've had a bit of a good go over the last 2 episodes, but it was just between ourselves when I think in a topic. So there's a lot of things we wouldn't have covered that would have been beneficial to other people. So we'd be happy to revisit that as well.
Fucking right, I'm still lacking confidence in a lot of areas, so any help would be much appreciated.
No, it's been a good chat, to be fair. It's always good to talk. And one last thing from us, I suppose, is big shout out to Mitch Bell, good listener of the pod. He's one good boy, good photographer, and he's had the confidence to move away. So he's driving now, and
Great segue.
where's he going? Is it Cairns?
Canberra.
Canberra, that's the one. So yeah, all the best to him. Big move. Hope it goes well for him.
Safe travels, brother. And thanks for he's a big fan of the pod. He told me the other night. So
Good man.
thank you.
That's us, is it?
That's us, but sound, aye.
Bedtime, is it?
Yeah, well, I got I got a plug. Fucking hell, but
Sorry, Fed.
sorry, Bath. Bathage. I think. Why am I saying? I don't know. I'm tired now. I'm not as tired as James, but it's time for bed. Give us a fucking follow. Instagram is at Sunday Coffee Club. That's where we post about the Sunday strolls, which are growing like fuck week on week. We're getting better. Isn't it wild that 600 people turned up to the last one, boys?
Fucking hell,
I lost Reese at one point. I couldn't find him.
Yeah. Yeah, all the info, if you want to ask us questions, just head over to Instagram. That's where we post the question box. Give us a follow on TikTok as well, at Sunday's Coffee Club _ YouTube Sunday Coffee Club. If you want to watch the episode, there's also a link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave a review, subscribe, all the fucking rest of it. And tell your mates, check us on his story, do what you got to do.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Take you 2 minutes, man. Help us out. Au revoir.
Mae hi'n amser y gwely.
What does that mean? Time for bed?
It's time for bed.
I've never seen him so happy.
Rub on.